Hello, good evening everyone. Am I audible? So, good evening everyone. Today we are going to see another very important topic as UPSC is concerned, that the taxation system. What do we understand by a tax? A very beautiful definition has been provided by the Economic Survey. I remember the then finance minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, defining what is tax in the parliament. He said that taxation is a is a glue is a glue which binds citizens of a country, with their state or the government. In essentially a bi bi bidirectional. For my handwriting, I'm not used to this pen and touchpad, so which essentially bidirectional social contract. What is tax? As per the survey, tax or taxation is a glue that binds citizen with the government in essentially a bidirectional social contract. Now, every word in is a meaning because it comes from the most rapid government document of as far as finances and economy is concerned, which is the economic survey. So it's a glue, sticks or binds citizen and government. So citizens will pay taxes and government will spend it in essentially a bidirectional. It is two-way. Citizens will pay to government and government will spend it on the social welfare. Okay, and it is bidirectional. So this is bidirectional. It's a social contract. It's a relationship. It's not a relation. It's a social contract. It's a very self-explanatory word, social contract. So this is how to quote the reputed and credible definitions with the words which are self-explanatory, so that your answer will be the most comprehensive and holistic, and that's how you will score marks in mains. Taxation, every year one question is coming in prelims, and 2 to 3 questions, 10 markers and 15 markers, are coming in the main examination. So this is what the definition of taxation is. Rest of the literature we will read out. I will read out. As you know, see, the power of policies to generate economic growth and equity that comes from privilege to tax and spend. Definitely, uh, in layman's language, in simple man's language, we can call taxation as redistribution of resources. Redistribution of resources. It is one of the tools to reduce the economic inequality in our country, where taxing the higher economic brackets with high taxation rate, so that the revenue is collected from their profits and they are redistributed in the welfare of poor and needy, and that's how the economic inequality that is reduced, and it is another form of redistribution of resources. So this is taxation. Now, what is direct tax? It is levied on the income or profits of individual or company respectively. So income is for individual and profit is for company. No individual can make profit, no company can make income, because the Income IT Act in our country clearly defines income of individual or Hindu undivided family, whereas profit is for commercial establishments like company or limited liability partnerships, company or LLPs. So IT, according to IT Act, okay. This is not useful for your purpose, but just for your understanding. The word direct means the burden of tax falls on the individual or company. It's very simple. Income tax, corporate tax. These are the things that you need to remember. What are types of direct? They are not types of direct tax, but they are different heads under which direct tax is collected. Now, income tax will be levied up not the company but on the individual. If any of your parents are in business or in government services, they pay income tax, form number 16. Be regularly paying it. Income tax. This is a direct tax because it is directly collected from the one who is earning money. Corporate tax. It will become collected from a company, limited liable partnerships, or a firm, etc., etc. Wealth tax, the wealth that you are going to inherit from your parents or been gifted from your friends or your relatives will be, after certain limit, there will be a wealth tax on it. So it will be directly collected from you. The corporate officers will come and paste a notice on your property if the tax compliance is not there. So these are the different heads. See, the trick is not the types of direct tax. Or tax is itself of two types only. One is direct and another is indirect. So, but they are collected under different heads due to the different definitions of different in the IT Act. So they are just collected in different heads. Okay. Whereas indirect, now coming to indirect tax, it is levied on the manufacturing and sale of goods and services. They are collected on goods and services, and it is called as indirect because the real burden of such tax is not borne by the individual firm paying it, but it is passed on, another crucial word, on to the consumer. there should be another word to the ultimate consumer. There are immediate consumers also. Like if I have collected, uh, if I have collected orange juice, Tropicana orange juice, so I am a consumer of that good, but I put it in my restaurant where I made some orange punch out of it or mojito out of it. I served it to my customers in my restaurant, which are going to drink that drink. I just purchased a finished product, added a value in my restaurant, and given pass it on to the customer. I have paid, I have borne the tax of MRP, but now after value addition, ultimate consumers who will be the customers drinking that fruit punch, they will bear the ultimate cost of that tax. So the word should be the ultimate consumer, okay, and it is passed on. Whereas direct tax, it is not passed on. Indirect tax is passed on. Excise duty, customs duty, sales tax are some of the good are examples. GST, for example, an indirect is paid by the consumer to the seller, and seller in turn pay to the government. Okay, because it is passed on. The definition of GST, it is the last indirect tax reforms. GST has nothing to do with your direct taxes. GST is about, it is the largest indirect tax reform since independence. This is how, if question on GST, last year I remember in my mains examination, I have written this statement. The break question was on GST, how many types of, how many heads of indirect taxes are subsumed. So this is how you break, sir, even if it's 10 marker. Just write beautifully that GST is the largest indirect tax reforms since independence. It is the vertical as well as horizontal integration of different heads in the taxation. Also, you can put that it is a destination based. The ultimate destination of the consumption will be the one who will be bearing the indirect tax. Okay. Now, what is the importance of taxation? It's a very generic thing. Uh, it has some revenue aims, and definitely we are a welfare state. That is a constitutional obligation upon us. It's constitutionally mandated. We are a welfare state. So, revenue, minting the revenue is not the sole aim for our session. We have definitely, we have some revenue and some non-revenue aims. Revenue, it helps the government in meeting its growth goals. So through investment, yeah, taxes provides for debt provision of goods, national security. We have, but where you can put Rafale, because it was in about overestimation of prices or wasting of taxpayers' money. But even the Honorable Supreme Court, in its judgment over Rafale deal, has said that Rafale are necessary for critical operational necessity. What a beautiful word to quote in your main. Honorable Supreme Court, in its judgment over Rafale, he said it has critical operational necessity in our national security interests. So this is how taxpayers' money is spent on not just public goods but national security, enforcement, law and order. What can be a good example for enforcement and law and order? Now the Police Reforms Commission time again said that you need to increase the expenditure on modernization and technological upgradation of police force, CCTV cameras, drones, urban combat vehicles are the few examples, quote some. Okay. Redistribution of wealth through progressive taxation system. as I already said, that it is the redistribution of resources. Taxing higher higher brackets on with high percentage is progressive taxation system, and it can only found in direct tax system. Direct tax can be progressive. Indirect tax, it's very complicated. Rather, indirect is a punishment to poor, is a penalty to poor. How? For example, if you absorb concepts through example, it will help you remembering things. Okay. It will help you remembering things. For example, a Parle-G, if a Parle-G biscuit pack comes for 5 rupees, now if the government has increased the indirect tax on the consumption of bakery products, including Parle-G, and if it is shot to, let's say example, 20 rupees now, 10 rupees, so was for the breakfast of the poor kid. So now it has become a task for them, whereas for the rich, it has no impact on their pocket, because they can afford 5 rupees, even in 10, even in 50. They don't have any pain, bear any cost for a biscuit. So rich or poor, they have to pay in the same ratio. It is as indirect tax is called as penalty to poor. So a popular government on a popular vote cannot afford to continually increase the indirect tax. That's why government has come out with increasing its direct tax to GDP ratio. Direct to GDP ratio. Overall tax collection, tax to GDP ratio is very less in India, where as compared to USA or other European nation or OECD nation, where tax compliance is very good. Firms, individuals, and everyone involved in economic activity, they regularly pay their tax, and that's how the tax percentage in their GDP is very high as compared to India. I think is a committee, I have read it last year, Arvind Modi. Please cross verify it. Arvind Modi Committee on direct tax reforms. Now it's almost a year that I have read these things on direct tax reforms. They are also said that government, to increase tax to GDP ratio, government has limitation on increasing the taxation, indirect taxation, which is a penalty to poor. It may lead stress in the lower socio-economic groups, which no government is willing to air or irritate the poor and marginal people. So the only scope where taxation be is direct tax, but that is also having a catch. When you increase the direct tax, the corporate investment flows out of country, and that also counts for your damaging your ease of doing business. So Arvind Modi Committee, they have come out with a policy that you need to strike a balance. You need to strike a balance between indirect tax, direct tax. Also, you need to appreciate honest taxpayers. Prime Minister has time and again said that is quoting about tax terrorism. This is the over enthusiasm of income officials for collecting the tax from even honest people. So, my current UPSC civil services, IRS, IT, and IRS customs. These are the two services where major reforms been happened, like faceless assessment, almost everything online now. So many of my batchmates and even senior officers from these two services, they are in confusion that shall they stop on these services because the scope of these services has been reduced, the human interface reduced and the digital interface has been increased. So the scope and the pair of these services has been reduced. Okay, so this is how the current government is serious on maintaining the image of investment friendly country, because one of the most source of foreign MNCs to invest in India is the red tape or over enthusiasm of tax officials. They complaint of even of harassment by our tax officials. So to clean this image, government of current government come out with the faceless assessment and reducing the human interface to almost zero, making it digital interface. So taxation in India. India has an elaborate federal constitutional scheme, position, collection, and appropriation of taxes. Word is important, federal. The central government levies direct taxes on person of income tax. Okay, corporate. These are different. Indirect like custom, excise duties and service. Okay. In 2017, how excise duty and service tax were integrated into GST most products. Within 30 seconds, if somebody is reading, uh, can you quote the three examples which are still out of GST? Still, states part GST, they have residual power to levy value-added tax on. No need. The example is written here only. Petroleum product tax on liquor. Also, the very classical example is electricity. Still, electricity is of the purview of GST. Okay. Here, Priyanka, right? Petrol. This petroleum products tax on liquor. If there is an option tax on alcohol, you won't mark that option because every alcohol is not for human consumption. Most of the alcohol they are industrial solvents, so they have industrial purposes and are under very much under GST. Only the alcohol which is for human consumption, which is called liquor, is not under GST, with every state fear of losing a very huge revenue base. Okay, see the power of the drinking lobby. States also have the power to levy direct taxes on agricultural income, but no state government will do so except Kerala or some other states where there is taxes on the plantation, whereas 99% of agriculture income in our country is not taxed. Substantial rationalization, right? Reduced tax rates and slabs, better administration. Well, these are the tax reforms what I was talking about earlier. Yes, I also mentioned this one to boost ease of doing this. Our Prime Minister is very much focused on this thing, ease of doing business. Okay, tax reforms in India. This you can read tax reform. What is the need? What I was talking about earlier is tax to GDP ratio. When the economy grows, personal income rise. Yes, that's how economy grows. So do the corporate profits, right? And this leads to the increase in consumption of goods and services. If you remember, just in times of our grandmother and grandfather, eating in a commercial eatery, eating in a hotel or a restaurant was like achieving something in their life. It was once a lifetime affair or once a yearly affair. Today, in just a matter of 25 to 30 years, we being their third generation now, we almost eat daily in a commercial establishment, and that's why that is increased consumption of goods and services, and this is the reason because the personal incomes and the profits have increased. All of them add to the tax collection and thus tax to GDP ratio increases. This is called as tax buoyancy. Most developed countries have high per capita income and their ability to pay higher taxes, right? A relatively low ratio in India is because we are a developing country. This means, as I said yesterday, more of our MSMEs, which provide 11 crore jobs, fall in informal sector. Informal sector. We don't have data. We don't have data on them. They, they still fall in informal structure. We don't have data, so we can't tax them. So, and this happens because we are a developing country. There is a lot, same thing. What I have said. I have not read this document. I am directly teaching. Informal sector is agriculture income exempted. True, as I said, 99% of they are taxed. Only very few examples where plantation crops is there, like cashew nut, saffron, or coconut. They have some kind of tax brackets. So there are many other tax sections in the parallel economy. Also, the tax machinery did not have a sufficient capacity. Low ratio handicaps this low ratio, which ratio, tax to ratio, handicaps the state from spending on social sector and infrastructure. India spends an average of 0.4% point less on health and education. Since 2006 and 17, this is current affairs, formalizing of economy has gathered momentum with demonetization, GST, and digital payment interface. This is the third thing interact. Definite formalization of economy gathered momentum because one thing was Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, followed demonetization, followed with digital payment ecosystem. Now, if you go to a shop of a tea seller or a pan shop or a roadside eatery, they have this Bharat QR code or some kind of digital payment system plus GST. These are the four pillars which has boosted the formalization of Indian economy. Formalization means we will now government have the data, exact data on economic transaction on annual basis and which can be taxed. And this is how your tax to GDP ratio increase. This is how revenue of government will increase. This is how your sector expenditure on health and education and infrastructure will increase. This is how you will create a good human resource. This is how you will become a country with goods of doing business with cheap and skilled labor. This is how the private investments will come in your country. Private investments come. This is how the enterprise with jobs will be created. More jobs means more income. More income means more tax. More tax means more spending on social sector. This is how a virtue cycle will set in. India will become a developed and prosperous nation. So this is the importance of vision. Okay. You can this IT dependent operation clean money ठीक है. Thus, rising tax GDP ratio can be attributed to rationalization of tax. Yes, there is a curve. It's 0, 100, These are revenue rate and revenue generation. This is 40%. When the revenue, this is generation, and this is sorry rate. When the rate is zero, revenue generation is zero. When the revenue rate is 100, still it will be revenue generation will zero, because yes, अगर समय और 100 ही टैक्स लीजिए तो आपका zero ही हो गया compliant. It is some mid in the around 40% that maximum revenue generation will be paid on this tax rate, and I guess it's called as Laffer's curve. Laffer's curve is the relation between tax rate and tax tax rate and tax generation. Sorry, revenue भी नहीं बोलना इसे, tax कहना चाहिए. Tax rate and tax generation. Just message me in the chat if it's Laffer's curve, relation between tax rate and tax generation. Better enforcement. Tax amnesty scheme. I don't think this is in syllabus, but still, there are people who do not comply with tax. Definitely, I remember Mr. Arun Jaitley speaking in Parliament that India is a country where the direct tax from individual above the bracket of 40 lakh, there are 8.2 lakh individuals who are paying this income tax, means whose income is above 40 lakh. Okay, 8.2 lakh individual who are paying income tax in annual basis, but in the same year, cars or SUVs with the price about 20 lakh, the car or SUVs about 20 lakh, 16 lakh vehicles were booked and purchased. So, see this paradox. People are only 8.2 lakh people are disclosing that we earn 40 lakh, so tax accordingly. Whereas there are 60 lakh individuals who purchased or bought vehicles, luxury vehicle about 20 lakh. So shows the poor state of tax compliance in our country. So there are certain schemes that government gives rebates or amnesties or etc. etc. Yes, this scheme is to remember. Pradhan Mantri Kalyan Yojana, launched by our Prime Minister in 2016 with Taxation Laws and Amendment Act 2016. See, basically, you just remember Income Tax Act, IT Act of 1961 or amended. See, just it made more stringent, impose the high tax rate and penalty if your income is undisclosed. And if you come out with your disclosure, then the penalty will be less severe. You might be remembering during childhood days, our parents used to give us the choice, either face a very hard punishment or just accept your mistake and we will forgive you, which was also ultimately a trap. Hardly anyone got forgiven. Hardly anyone was forgiven. Whereas the severe punishment will always remain the same. Operation Clean Money in Tax Department, e-verification, large cash deposits. After demonetization, there were many bank accounts which were sitting idle for years, and suddenly over 10 lakh, around 10 lakh rupees cash was deposited in those accounts. So this operation key money, large cash deposit suddenly made after demonetization. This data and information were personally scrutinized, and many profiling of affairs were done by IT department, and many such shadow and suspected accounts were freezed or seized, and ultimately the money came to the government. Direct tax codes. It is a proposal by the government of India. I think it's Arvind Modi committee. Arvind Modi committee. Can you please search it for me? Direct tax forms committee. Recent. Just write Arvind Modi committee. If it's so, then this will be a very good point add in your preparation. DTC. DTC is expected to replace the IT Act of 1961. Okay, many changes has already been brought in direct tax regime. Which are the changes? Wealth tax was abolished. LTGC, yes. This is a high yield area where consecutive prelims the question appeared. It was not just in 2018-19. Economic Survey 2016-17 also mentioned about it. So I think 2017 prelim and in 18 prelim question on long-term capital gains and short-term transaction tax. The question appeared on these two taxes. Okay. Just remember this LTGC. This is a high yield area where scope to question is very huge. LTGC. I think it's not a plan. The corporate tax has already reduced to almost there is different ceiling 22% to 25%. Okay, corporate tax rate for MSP. Yes, yes. This has already been done. This general avoidance and GAR. Just remember LTC, GAR, POEM, place of effective management. POEM. Rules as a test to determine the residence for tax benefit purposes. Yes, yes. Arvind Modi Committee, Central Board Direct Taxes, right? You can quote it in direct tax reforms. It will give you an extra mark. Today, the participant students, they are very less. Yesterday, were more. This shows that the circadian rhythm of Saturday has taken the toll on our attendance. But those you are attending today, I would like to congratulate you participants. You are sincere in your approach towards UPSC, and UPSC asks only one thing, that is discipline. Nothing matters, your intellectual quotient or your background, nothing matters. Only thing matters is your work plus consistency plus confidence plus discipline. This is the game changer, because these three things, almost 50,000 candidates in India, they have this quality of hard work, consistency, and confidence. But this is the factor which separates those 800 recommended candidates from the remaining 50,000 candidates, which are pretty damn serious and pretty damn intelligent, brilliant, resourceful, whatnot. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday doesn't matter. Public holiday doesn't matter. Every day you should go through your schedule, because time is a progressive quantity and it never comes back. I would congratulate you all. So just after this small motivational lecture, we will go back to our business. Okay. Remember, Act of 1961, LTGC, General Avoidance Rules that you cannot avoid, and OM, Place of Effective Management. Plus, I think OECD speaks about base erosion, BE, base erosion and profit shifting, BEPS. Yes. So these things should pop up in your mind. Okay. Immediately, this shall come into your mind. Rajaswa Sangam. I think this is the valedictorian session of IRS officials who have completed their training. As I said, see there it's mentioned here. PM mentioned the need to overhaul the tax framework in our country. Rajaswa Gyan Sangam is about gathering of IRS officials. Capital gains tax. The tax on the buying and selling of assets like land, shares, etc. If the gain is made on the asset held over 3 years, 1 year for shares on mutual fund and 3 years for land, property, flat, building, row house, bungalow, etc., etc., it will be called as long-term capital gains tax and it will be taxed. The tax rate is very low, but still, okay. Till 2019, the LTGC arising from the transfer of listed equity shares were exempted from tax. But in Union Budget of 2018 and 19, Arun Jaitley ji reintroduced the LTGC on equity investment, shares and related things. The budget legislated to tax the LTGCs which are exceeding 1 lakh at the rate of 10% without allowing the benefit of any indexation. All gains up to the 30th January 2018, however, grandfathered. That grandfathering means new laws won't apply. Just how I remembered this thing, grandfathering and indexation, etc., etc. I remembered, I just made a story that I made a mistake in my household and my parents are now angered, and I went running to my grandfather and asked them to win, and grandfather asked my parents that let him go, don't punish him. So now that grandfathering I remembered, these are the mnemonics you need to make. Okay, the things will become very easy for you to remember. Tax expenditure refers to revenue foregone as a result of exemption and concession, direct and indirect tax. This was a question in UPSC prelims where the first option given was the tax expenditure refers to the revenue spent by the government for its fiscal budgeting. One thing was this, another was same, but the name here suggests it is exactly opposite. It is not any expenditure. It is not any expenditure, but it is the loss to the government as a result of exemptions and concessions. For example, LTGC was introduced, but on this capital transaction above 1 lakh. So the investments made by the lower middle classes will be exempted, because we are the people who invest in the shares or bond debentures to 1 lakh. Hardly anyone goes about that. So this is how government gives relief to the lower social margins, whereas taxing the higher economic brackets. But this is certainly exemption means loss to the government, and that is tax expense. Here it is an estimate that revenue for one tax incentive in 2015-16 was nearly 6 lakh crore. What is the size of our economy? It is 205 lakh crore. This is the GDP of our country. So what percent of GDP are we losing due to tax incentive? We just calculate. It will be approximately 2.95, 6 lakh crore. Another, middle classes to build houses, senior citizens for their living buying houses. Yes, uh, in housing for all scheme, the property or the house is registered in the name of women. There is certainly a huge tax incentive given to household. So what we can see that government is using taxation as a tool for empowerment, because India is traditionally a patriarchal society irrespective of the region, religion, caste or state. In any across the society we can see the predominance of patriarchy. Therefore women are devoid of land or property. They don't have inheritance, that much inheritance rights in our family. That we can see the inheritance of property is between brothers, and hardly any progressive way we see that even sisters are given their share. But it is very rare. So that's why government is using this tool of taxation for women empowerment. This is how you connect dots in UPSC. Taxes. The moment this word comes, you should remember the examples of Mauritius, Cayman Islands, and Cyprus. These are the three countries which are notorious, which are actually the tax havens for the individual businesses, and they are this the because they havens and they are the irritation points for tax officials across the globe. Switzerland comes in this category for their very suspicious and secret banking activity. That's why we see in movies Swiss bank account में Swiss bank में इनका account है, so that it is a it is a synonym for a corrupt individual or a firm. So it is generally an offshore country that offers foreign individuals and businesses little or no tax liability in politically and economically static environment. Taxons also share limited or no financial information with foreign authorities. यही सब चीजें हैं, the important features of tax havens. You don't need to remember what are the features. Now see, Bermuda, Panama, Ireland are not related to India. Singapore, yes. Cayman Island, yes. Monaco again not. Luxembourg, no. Hong Kong, no. These are fortified blacklisted by OECD and threatened with financial. For India, Mauritius, Cayman Islands, Cyprus, and Singapore. These are the major places of transaction where money is routed through these destinations and tax exemption enjoyed. They are making millions of dollars profit in India, but using these loopholes of tax havens to avoid the tax, and that's where OECD comes in the picture, and the policy of POEM, place of effective POEM. Now this is we will not read this Panama and Paradise, okay, not necessary. Base erosion and profit shifting, BEPS. The moment you see of BEPS, you think of OECD. Okay, OECD. Some companies that shift tax by registering in tax havens are globally renowned companies like Apple, Facebook, and Nike, Uber. It is called BEPS, which refers to the tax planning strategies that exploit the loopholes in the tax rules to artificially shift the profits to low or no tax destination where there is very little or no real economic activity. That if someone comes and say to you that the headquarter of Facebook is in a small tiny island of Mauritius, you might not believe, but these MNCs do such things. But hardly there is any office or registered firm there on that island. But just for tax benefits, it means that company shifts its headquarters to the jurisdiction like Mauritius or Ireland, where tax rates are low to avoid taxes. Most often, it is a legal process for which global firm exists to assist. It thus represents a case where tax base is being eroded when profits of the firms are shifted to havens. Hundreds of billions of dollars tax revenue is lost by the government, and the tax is a legitimate right government. No one can deny it. Legitimate right of a government to collect the tax, not just from uh, this century or past century, but even if we go in the Kautilya's Arthashastra, Kautilya's book of Arthashastra, he stresses and speaks of the importance of taxation, which was called as Rajaswa in those times. He also speaks that it is a right of the government to tax the economic activity in their jurisdiction. It is legitimate right. It's a means in those times it called as the uh, king has the God-given right to collect the taxes. But when the monarchy was replaced by the democracies or alternate form of governments, uh, the word God-given right was replaced by the legit right. Even the Sardar Soran Singh Committee on Fundamental Duties recommended paying taxes as one of the fundamental duty, but this was not accepted by the cabinet and it was made as a legal duty. If question comes in your preliminary examination that whether paying tax is a constitutional duty or a fundamental duty or legal duty or a moral duty, you should not have confusion because paying taxes, though it was recommended by the Soran Singh committee, but it was rejected to put under the head of FD, but it was put under the head of a legal duty. It's a legal duty. And if you don't comply, you will get a legal punishment. Shell companies. It may be legal or illegal money that invested, but the proceedings are not reported to the domestic tax authorities as they are most of the companies through which money is invested and laundered shell companies. Shell companies means these companies exist only on papers and documents. They don't have their physical existence anywhere. They don't have single employee. They don't have any property. They don't have anything in reality. But papers they have everything. These are such bogus companies. Okay, they are called as shell companies. DTAA, Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement. Now, in this age of globalization, where economies are integrated and networked, where economy of one nation is also important for maintaining the global economy. When investors from one country go to every other country where profits can be made, there is a need to ensure that there is no double taxation. That is, if profits made by investor in one country in another country are taxed in both countries, this is a disincentive for financial integration. For example, uh, you just quote me any IPL foreign player of your choice in the chat, and we will take the example with his country because I am very poor with cricket, so I need your help. Yes, please. I'm waiting for your answer. Okay. Likith says David Warner of Australia. I have. Okay. Is this Ab de Villiers? Ab de Villiers from South Africa. Okay. Glenn Maxwell of Australia. Oh, I don't know anyone from Abiders has the large number of votes. So ABD Willers, ABD, remember the name ABD. Is from again South. Okay. ABD. If ABD is made from South Africa, he is a citizen of South Africa. So he is essentially glued with the legitimate government of South Africa in essentially a bidirectional contract. So means he is legally mandated to pay the tax to South African government. But now ABD comes to India to play IPL. And now he has come to India to play IPL, and if he has making, for example, $100 as a profit. No, not profit. He's an individual, so income. So if he has made $1 income in India, and according to the Act of 1960, he has been taxed at the rate of 30%. It means $30 has been deducted, and he has got only $70 in hand. Now he flies back to South Africa, and at the airport, he says that I have got $70. So, according to the IT Act of South Africa, if he is supposed to pay 20 more dollars, so after the whole IPL thing, he is at the end of only $50 in his hand, whereas he was supposed to have $100. So, he has been taxed two times. Means he has been taxed here according to the IT Act of 1961, and here on the airport he has been taxed by the South African government also. So there will be a disincentive for ABD. This will be a disincentive for ABD to play cricket at all, because if it's a hard money of $100 and 50 rupees has been went to tax of two different government. So rather, this is not just about an individual. So the all the countries in the world, they came together in Brussels. Brussels is a headquarter for any taxation activity for integration. Okay, so they came in Brussels and they said that we should avoid these things, DTAA. We should come with these things, that is, we shall not tax, we should not double tax any individual or firm. So to remove this into and to financially integrate, DTAs are signed between the countries affected to avoid the double taxation. DTAs are both fair as well as boost the investment and growth. For instance, see, I have given you an example. Okay, no need to remember. India has DTAs with about 88 countries. Now, why not with rest countries? Because they are rigid tax regimes, and they have financial risk, means their financial activity are suspicious. So India don't want to enter with country. Only the countries with clean accounts and audit books we enter in DTA. Okay? Mauritius, Singapore, and Cyprus. These are the three headaches for our taxation system. Okay, don't believe that majority of our foreign direct investments, FDA, majority of FDA come from Mauritius. And if you go and see Mauritius, there is hardly any economic activity. That means the MNCs are exploiting Mauritius as a loophole, as a tax one, and they are directing FDIs from there. They're also shifting the profits to Mauritius, where India is losing lakhs of crores of direct tax. Okay. So to avoid double taxation, DTAA, and to avoid base erosion and profits, BEPS is there by OECD. POEM, place of effect management. Okay. Residential status of foreign companies. Finance Act of 2015 introduced a concept of place of effective management or POEM. If the company's place of effective management is India, it will be treated as an Indian resident and its global income will be taxable in India. As I said, if Mark Zuckerberg comes and say that I have headquarter in Mauritius, but he hardly own a 1 BHK office for just a namesake in Mauritius as its headquarter, whereas he owns, these are example, he owns 1,000 hectare commercial space or IT park in Bangalore. So it's very visible that this is diversion created by the Facebook, whereas the real activity, the effective management of the phone is on this 1,000 hectares in Bangalore. So according to the POM, we will not treat this as a, any country will not treat it as a Mauritius, but where the effective management is going on. So it will under the Bangalore, so Indian tax laws. So this is how the tricks of MNCs won't work. ट्रांसफर प्राइसिंग वगैरह ये ठीक है, ये आप पढ़ते हैं, not not that much required. It's too it's too uh, detailed. This is what UPSC is about. अगर आप टैक्सेशन पढ़ रहे हो तो हर कोई उसमें का चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बनने की कोशिश करता है and keep on dragging. Staying relevant is very important in UPSC. Okay, you should stay relevant. अगर कोई जैनिज्म बुद्धिज्म पढ़ रहा है वो इतने फिलोसॉफिकल हो जाते हैं कि दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. इफ समवन इज रीडिंग हिस्ट्री तो वो इतना ज्यादा उसको पेट्रियोटिक हो जाते हैं कि मींस आई हैव सीन माय फ्रेंड्स हु हैज विजिटेड फतेहपुर सिकरी, कुतुब मीनार, फोर्ट, ताजमहल, what was that Jaipur Sikri that Akbar built after the commemoration of Gujarat victory, Buland Darwaza, to see by themselves. Means they were so drawn into the history that they wasted very important 10 to 15 days in just do tour. See, there is no opposed to go have a good time or tour or visit, but if you are dragging yourself too much into any subject, and if you are going, if reaching the syllabus limits, that is going to be a hazardous thing, that is going to be uh, collaterally it will damage to you. So PO Max वगैरह ठीक है, ये कोचिंग क्लास के you will find the questions on this such terminology on class, negative externality, pollution, PO index और ठीक है, but final never questions were asked nor it is mentioned in the syllabus, because in India we don't have any such kind of thing. Okay, yes, this is the high end area, sure question is going to come, so prepare well. This GST is a value added tax levied on most of the goods and services. See the beautiful, most of the goods and services, not all, because we have already seen which are exempted. So on for domestic consumption is paid by consumer, so that's why it is called as the destination based tax, but it is remitted to the government by the goods and services. Okay, main feature applicable on supply side. Destination based tax, see I have already mentioned this thing. The GST is based on the principle of destination based. It's simple. Dual GST, state GST and central GST. There is integrated, okay, which is called as integrated GST. Mutually decided. The GST rates are mutually decided. That is, central GST, state GST, and integrated GST are levied out to be mutually agreed upon by center and states. The rates are notified and recommended to the GST Council. And this phenomenon is called as, I will give you another magic word, fiscal federalism. See, we can see federalism in anything. We can see fiscal federalism in cooperation, cooperative federalism. We can say federalism in competition is competitive federalism. We can see it in fiscal policy taxation, fiscal federalism, anything. You don't just need a magic word, which is self-explanatory. Okay, fiscal federalism. Legislative basis, it's very simple. 101st CAA to the indirect taxes, excise, service, customs, etc., VAT, luxury tax, or indirect tax. Okay. Article 246A was amended. Right. Advantage. The punchline of GST is one nation, one tax. One nation, one tax. So it is a unified common market. It will streamline the taxation. ये टैक्स ये स्टेट में वो भरो वो स्टेट में वो भरो. So MNCs were complaining since many years. Even after the LPG reforms of 1991, MNCs used to complain our government that why you paying so much to us? You need money, you want money as tax, just. But why you want us to run from this state to that state? यहाँ पर ये receipt लो, वहाँ पे वो form भरो. Can't you have one thing, one single window? We will pay more, but just simplify the process. So this is what is called a streamlining of taxation through harmonization in laws, procedures, and rates of tax between center and state and across the states. Increasing tax definitely, as all returns are filled online with no human interface and high digital interface. So larger transactions for the glitch. We will start again. So if everything is online, this will increase the tax fines. Okay. This will also have an environmental angle. Can anybody environmental angle? GST is not just about GST is definitely not just about economy. It has many aspects. Okay. One of them is environment. Can anybody guess? Rapid question to everyone. What is the environmental benefit of GST? See, reducing the paper trail means less cutting of forests and trees. That will save your trees and protect your environment. Right, Priyanka, read papers. There is also implication, environmental implication of abrogation of Article 370, which gave special status to the then state today's Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Leh and Ladakh. There is also environmental benefit because, as we know, that for Jammu Kashmir was administered by the state law. It didn't come under the Indian Forest Act of 1907 or Forest Right Act of 2000 also. So that has an abrogation of Article 370 is not just an angle of national security and sovereignty and integration. It has also an environmental angle. Now the forests of Jammu and Kashmir, which are the very pristine Himalayan forests, will now run by the central forest machinery, which will be more holistic. It will also about tribal empowerment because the Scheduled Tribes Forest Rights Act and other Dweller Rights Act of 2006 will now be extended to the tribals of the forest of Jammu and Kashmir. Specifically, there are many tribals in the where in the Leh and Ladakh region, Changtha, etc. Many tribal people. So now they will be empowered. ओके तो कोई एक लेजिस्लेशन के बहुत सारे आयाम और पहलू होते हैं. कमिंग टू और ओके see these are very points you can definitely remember. Please read it. I won't repeat it and again. Trade and industries, simple taxes, increases of business, reduction in multiplicity, reduction in regulatory cholesterol, elimination of double taxation in certain section. So this is an incentive. Efficient neutralization of taxes by exports. Okay. Everything for consumers. Prices. I am able. I now I am empowered enough to know to whom I am paying and why I am. Okay. Price reduction because cascading impact of taxation reduced. That means tax on tax now is neutralized. Rather, if a commodity was taxed on 4% in the first value addition, for example, if a commodity of say 100 rupees was taxed at rate of 10%, then the next step was 110%. Again, it was taxed 10%. So now the tax on 110 will be 10%, but this should go on this 100, but that was not happening. Already taxed commodity was again taxed, and this continued. This commodity was again taxed. So tax on tax means it will increase the final MRP, which is called as cascading. Now the GST tax is only on the basic material in the first step, and in successive state tax is only on the value addition, not the material. What value is added is someone's profit, so only that is taxed. Poverty eradication by generating more employment, financial issues. So, this is another GST and federalism. I have said cooperative fiscal federalism, cooperative federalism. These are the two words that you need to remember. This is the high yield area where questions will certainly National Anti-Profiteering Authority. What is it? Now GST is giving very tax and tax benefits to the business enterprises, but they are not reciprocating it to the consumers. Okay, so in such cases, the business enterprises are making more profit, which is not legitimate. Okay, so if now national anti-profiteering authorities come into the scene, and the authority will determine the methodology for determining whether the reduction in rate or fit of input credit has been passed on to by seller to the buyer. See, government is giving tax incentives. For example, I quoted like Parle-G. It is a nutritious commodity and it is at a very cheap price. So it is for nutritional security of poor and marginalized. So if government is giving some tax benefits to a company of Parle-G, but Parle-G benefiting from such tax benefits is keeping the money with itself, whereas keeping the Parle-G high means it is not passed to the consumer, which was the ultimate purpose giving the tax concession at the first place to this MNC. So then National Anti-Profiteering Authority will come into the picture and they will punish them and they will make a huge recovery. Okay. See, I spoke about this thing. Arthur Lafarker shows the relation between tax rates and tax revenue collected by government. You must be remembering this. This was the curve. Okay, 0 and 100. Another trick how I remembered this thing. Uh, Hindi word loafer. Loafer means badmash. Means a loafer comes and मैं टैक्स दूंगा ही नहीं. Means he is a extreme guy जो टैक्स 0 रेट पे भी देगा और 100 रेट पे भी 0 देगा. हाँ, if you talk with him modestly and says that it is important, then somewhere around take 40% tax rate, he will give you the maximum. Okay, this is how I remembered. It was a weird, but it worked for me. Minimum alternative tax, MAT. Normally, a company is liable to pay tax on the income computed in accordance with the provision of IT Act, right? But profit and loss account of the company is prepared as per the provision of company. There were large of companies who show book profits as their profit loss account according to company, but do not pay any tax by showing no taxable income as per the IT Act. For example, a company is showing 100 crore turnover. So but in profit and loss account, they are showing 0 rupees as profit by showing that 100 crore was the cost running the business. So, as the IT Act says, that should be only on the profit or on the income of individual or profit of a company. So, if profit is technically low, then it cannot be taxed. But we can see if someone is having the turnover 100 crore, how in the on this earth can he have no profit? So minimal alternate tax was a device used in such case. ठीक है तुम नहीं बना रहे हो, legally your papers are clear, but still we need MAT. Now pay this. Well, tax वगैरह see again tax incidents, these are very generic. No need. Just remember, yes, UPSC has asked question on STT. They know or not, this is a direct tax on all transaction purchase of the security markets में जो भी होगा in the recognized stock exchange in India, uh, there will be STT. This is a direct tax. This is a direct tax. This is a head under tax. I think बहुत कम होता है 0.5% of the total transaction value ऐसा कुछ होगा. But this was asked. The question was very simple. Which of the following is direct tax? Complicated things were given, and one option was STT. So that was. So, my dear friends, this is how we have come to the conclusion of a very important part of our syllabus as far as Indian economy and the fiscal governance is concerned. It is taxation. If you have any questions, I will appreciate this thing, and I would be very happy to answer your queries. Okay, you can we will discuss very briefly and very fastly about your doubts and discussions if there are any. So please. I think there are no questions. No doubts. Okay, then thank you everyone. uh, Tomorrow we will have another class. So uh, again I would like to remind you that economy is a high yield subject. It's too technical, and that's why it yield, because when it's technical there is very low probability of equity, very less probability of confusion. So please make that small notebook where you will write very confusing and relevant economy concepts in a very crisp and short way. That will help you a lot in the last month or before examination. I guess you all are film guys, so uh, uh, I have cleared two consecutives now, last prelim and this prelim. Uh, and I honestly, when I walked out from the examination hall, my first reaction was this was the one of the simplest paper that a UPSC has ever uh, framed. But when I interacted with my fellow juniors and my fellow friends, paper was very tough for them. And yes, now it's a general consensus that paper was tough, but I personally found it very easy. The difference that was made in my conscience was that I was prepared so much in the last 3 years. I have revised each and everything so many times that everything is on the tip of my tongue. I never prepare for any class before teaching you. I never go through this document even for once. What comes in front of me and what I have gathered knowledge, which is relevant for UPSC, and definitely questions are going to come from only from those corners. I teach you and try to explain you here. Uh, Only thing that helped me in the examination hall, or that is helping me now, is the number of revisions I made and the efforts, the huge Himalayan efforts that I put in preparation. Okay, so if you want to this examination, you need such a preparation that will be unparalleled. Okay, that will be paralleled. None of your competitor will be doing efforts that you will make. Not hard work, but fusing smart work. For every difficult check, I had a small diary, small 100-page book, and that is more than enough for clearing prelims economic questions. Only 100 pages I have written in 3 years. So very crisp and concise, but very important data. And sir, for I made notebooks for environment, similar for science and tech, similar for polity and governance, similar even for main ethics, similar for essays, the quotes and wordings from the Hindu in last 3.5 years. I have compiled everything. So you also do in some similar way, because this is a very long fight. The success is not guaranteed or assured at any point in time. Rather, it's not an examination, it is a journey where you go yourself. Okay, so enjoy the process, and it's a very long process. Just remember that thing. So prepare well. Okay, good night. Good night.